Tiger meat. Eat, Massey, eat. Eat, Ramesses, eat. The Clemson Tiger game in Death Valley was the one game that I had North Carolina losing this year in my preseason prediction. So how do I feel about it now that the Carolina Tar Heels are 8-2 and the Clemson Tigers are 6-4? Let's huddle up.
You don't want none! You don't want none!
Ready, break! What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ, the Tar Heel. Did you guys see Ramesses snacking on that tiger meat, bro? A man's hungry. And that's exactly how these Tar Heels need to be going into this week, as the Clemson Tigers have completely rebounded their last two football games, bro. So in this huddle, we're going to discuss this week's matchup between North Carolina and the Clemson Tigers in Death Valley. And like I said, this was the lone game that I projected the Heels would lose in the regular season. Obviously not foreseeing the lackluster performances that UNC would have, Virginia at home, and then at Georgia Tech, a really bad UVA team, and then a bipolar Georgia Tech team. So the question is, do I still have this one as an L? Now, let me preface this by saying that this is absolutely the best chance that Carolina has to beat Clemson in a really long time. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this football game, let's have a look at the updated rankings that have UNC moving up 2 spots to number 22 in the AP poll, and they check in at number 20 in the coaches poll, moving up 3 spots. Now, the ACC standings have Florida State at 8-0 in the conference, followed by Louisville at 6-1. The Heels are in a 3-way tie with the Wolfsack and Virginia Tech at 4-2. Now, the first meeting between the North Carolina Tar Heels and Clemson Tigers occurred on October 25th, 1897, where the Tar Heels recorded a resounding 28-0 victory in Chapel Hill. The last meeting, however, showed the Heels losing to Clemson in the 2022 ACC Championship game in Charlotte, 39-10. And I had the great privilege of watching said game at Bank of America Stadium. Now, the Clemson Tigers own a 39-19 with one tie head-to-head record against the Heels. The Heels are 7-19 all-time in Death Valley, and their last victory there occurred on October 20th, 2001. So it's been over 2 decades since the North Carolina Tar Heels beat the Clemson Tigers in Death Valley. And in that game, defensive end Julius Peppers and the UNC defense shut down Woody Dantzler by holding the Heisman hopeful to 118 yards of total offense in the Tar Heels' 38-3 victory over the then-ranked, 13th-ranked Clemson Tigers. Now, Julius Peppers was quoted as saying in that game, he's a good player, talking about Woody Dantzler. I'm not taking nothing from Woody, but he had 900-something yards the past 2 games, but we're better than that. Our defense is better than that. They held the ACC's top offense at the time to 209 yards of total offense in that game. My, if only we still had that same kind of defense, right? So let's have a look at these Clemson Tigers of 2023. According to NCAA.com, Clemson is the 48th. According to NCAA.com, Clemson is 48th in the country in total offense and 45th in scoring offense at 30.3 points per game. That's 56th passing, 238.6 yards per game, and 47th rushing, 169.7 yards per game. For comparison purposes, UNC is 79th in total defense and 60th in scoring defense at 25.5 points per game. That's 82nd in the country defending the pass with 235.5 yards per game and 78th in rush defense, which is 154.0 yards per game. Now, they are led by 6'2" sophomore quarterback Cade Klubnik, who has amassed 2,261 yards with 18 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He has a QBR of 60.2, which is good for 70th in the nation, and he threw for 205 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception against Georgia Tech in their 42-21 blowout last week. Now, the Clemson Tigers' leading rusher is 6'1", 230-pound monster Phil Maffa, who has 721 yards rushing on 126 carries for 5.7 yards per carry, and he's got 8 touchdowns on the ground. Now, Maffa had 17 carries for 96 yards against Georgia Tech, but that was probably largely in part to Clemson blowing them out fairly early. He also had 186 yards and 2 touchdowns on 36 carries against Notre Dame the week prior. You do not want to tackle this guy high. Let me repeat that again. You do not want to tackle this guy high, which is what Carolina apparently loves to do. So, you also can't forget about 5'11", 210-pound running back Will Shipley, who has 592 yards rushing on 123 carries, 4 touchdowns, and he's also got 2 touchdowns through the air with 150 yards receiving. Now, the Clemson Tigers' leading receiver is 6'3", 210-pound wide receiver Bo Collins, who has 510 yards receiving on 38 catches with 3 touchdowns. He had 5 catches for 65 yards against Georgia Tech to go along with a touchdown last week. And now, for the mighty Tar Heels of North Carolina, according to NCAA.com, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels are 3rd in the nation in total offense and 8th in the nation in scoring offense with 39.9 points per game. They are 8th in passing, 321.9 yards per game, and 18th in rushing, 198.7 yards per game. So they're averaging over 500 yards of total offense. That's outstanding. For comparison, Clemson is 6th in the country in total defense, 38th in scoring defense at 21.2 points per game, 7th in pass defense, 162.5 yards per game, and 19th in rush defense, 109.3 yards per game. So you talk about strength on strength. Now the Heels are led by redshirt sophomore Drake May, who has amassed 3,145 yards passing with 21 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He has a QBR of 79.6, which is good for 14th in the country. He also has 8 rushing touchdowns on the season. There's not much more that I can say about Draco except enjoy him while we still have him. The kid can do it all, and he went off against Duke on Saturday. The kid is just a gamer, man. Best quarterback in college football. The Hills' leading rusher is Omarion Hampton. 1,236 yards rushing on 206 carries. He has accumulated 13 rushing touchdowns, but he also has a touchdown reception and 204 yards receiving. I have really enjoyed Chip Lindsey giving Big O his touches. The kid is an absolute beast, and he has been huge in helping set up the pass. Kid's averaging 6 yards per carry and almost never goes down on first contact. He's just a machine. He's a warrior with the rock in his hand. So let's feed him, my man, Big O. And that sets up the Tar Heels' leading receiver, 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver, Devontae Walker, who has 600 yards receiving, 35 receptions, 6 touchdowns, and he didn't even play the first 4 games of the season. So it just goes to show you how well Tez is playing. Mr. Take the top off. Interesting fact is that Carolina now has 3 receivers, count them, 1, 2, 3, that have over 500 yards receiving. Tez, JJ, and Bryson. Special stuff, man. Drake is spreading that football around. Now, the ESPN matchup indicator gives the Clemson Tigers a 60.6% chance at beating the Hills in Death Valley. And at the time of this video, the current line, according to ESPN, is 6.5 in favor of Clemson with an over-under of 58.5. So let's look at Russ's 3 keys to this game. Key number 1, stay balanced and don't abandon the run. Clemson's defense is going to be stingy, bro, especially against the run. I seriously doubt that O'Marion is going to be able to average 6 yards per carry in this game with that Clemson front 7. But Chip is going to have to continue to run the football and stay ahead of the chains. This should not turn into Drake slinging it around 45 times in regulation because you're not having the same success running the football. What I'm saying is just because you're not getting 6, 7 yards, 8 yards a pop doesn't mean you abandon the run. 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, not a bad thing. We'll take it. So those 3 and 4 yard gains are okay. Take them as successes. Don't abandon the run, even if you're not having the same kind of success that you're used to having. Key number 2, and this is from the defensive side of the football. I got to bring it up, man. If you're in position, make the freaking play. Worst case scenario, funnel him into somebody who will make the play. As I alluded to back in the Duke reaction video, North Carolina's technique has taken a serious downward turn as they are tackling super high and have had instances where they are in position, but they take terrible angles to the football. Carolina has been killed when they don't set the edge. None more glaring than watching Duke's Waters run past Giovanni Biggers and Chapman on 2 separate plays in the 4th quarter for easy touchdowns. If you're in position, get low and make a solid tackle. You say, Russ, that's easy for you to say. You're just sitting at home on the couch. Bro, I played football. I'm not saying that I'm as good as these guys. It's not what I'm saying at all. But you got to be at least heady enough to know, hey, there's nobody outside of me. Let me at least cut off that outside shoulder and make him turn it up to where I have extra defenders that are coming to help me out. You cannot get beat on the edge in that situation. That's football 101, man. Football 101. That's not rocket science. That's not stinking rocket science. So get low, make a solid tackle. Worst case, funnel them back to the guys that are scraping down the line of scrimmage. Stop trying to tackle these guys above the waist. I'm tired of it. God forbid you make a habit of doing that against Phil Maffa. He's going to run you over. So stop it. And it's not even like these guys are coming downhill trying to bring the wood. The only person that I've seen do that from the secondary really is Stick Lane. And he's not a big dude. But you know what? I can see myself a little bit in Stick, and if I'm coming downhill, man, you're getting all of me. And that's how Stick plays. I admire that. But if you're not going to stink and bring the rain, bro, you need to stink and break down and make a solid tackle. Stop tackling these guys like you're trying to give them a hug at a birthday party. Sorry, man, I'm just a little frustrated with that crap. So then if you don't have Phil Maffa running you over because you're tackling them high, you got Will Shipley who will shake you out of your cleats if you don't break down. So just make a play. Just make a play. That's it. You're a Division I safety. Yes, they're Division I running backs. Yes, I get it. They're Division I receivers. But bro, come on, man. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Or just let the coach know, like, hey, I can't get it done. So we can get somebody in there that will get it done. At least somebody that's going to stink and set the edge and funnel them back to the trailing defenders. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep harping on that because it's such a stinking easy fix, man. That's an easy fix. That's just situational awareness, and that crap frustrates me. Little things like that frustrate me. So key number 3, have the crowd grumbling early, bro. Clemson has a renewed sense of vigor about them after beating a top 15 Notre Dame team and blowing out Georgia Tech last week. If we can jump on them early it could possibly take the wind out of the sails of that 81,500 screaming Clemson fans that will be in attendance and have them heading for the exits early. I feel like it's real close, man. They're like real close. They're holding on to hope. They're 6-4, but they're kind of in uncharted territory. So it'll be interesting to see how long they last if Carolina can get up significantly, which I don't know if they can do, but if they can get up significantly on the Tigers in Death Valley. Now that leads us to Russ's score prediction. Now I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know this. I'm always going to shoot you straight. There's no stinking fanboy here, okay? Every game that I've called up to this point, I called it, on the belief that obviously my team was going to win. It just so happens that Carolina was good this year, and they should be freaking 2-0. They're not. They're 8-2. But I called all those games because Carolina was the better team in every game that we've played thus far. And at the beginning of the year, I said that this was the one game that I just didn't know, because it's in Death Valley, if Carolina could get it done. So I'm always going to shoot you straight, bro. I'm a Tar Heel until I MFDIE. And all the adults in the room know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm a realist. And I have to say this first. Can North Carolina beat the Clemson Tigers? Have you seen Drake May play? Have you watched O'Mary and Hampton run the rock? Have you seen Tez streak down the sideline? Have you seen that North Carolina defense play? ... There it is, man. Can the Heels outlast the Tigers? Yeah. Is this the year that they should? Absolutely. How much faith do I have in their ability to make plays on that side of the ball, though? Talking about the defensive side of the ball? 10%, maybe. That's how big of a drop-off I think that Carolina defense has had over the course of the last month. It comes down to this. North Carolina is taking their potent offense into Death Valley to face one of the best defenses in the country, along with 80,000 fans in the most hostile environment that they've played in all year, maybe in the last 2 years. The only comparable game would be the South Carolina game, where there were more Gamecock fans at Bank of America Stadium than Tar Heel fans, but that will pale in comparison to Death Valley. I think the Heels put enough offense on the board to win the game. The issue is I have very little confidence that the Heels' rush defense will match Clemson's physicality. I want you to understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we don't have the talent. I'm saying that I just don't think we have the dogs, the men down in the trenches to give a little pushback. I don't see them matching up with their physicality, man. I'm keeping it a buck. Said it in Rucker, Will. If Stick gets some more burn, he'll come up and be physical. Huzzy, he'll come up and make a tackle. But until the defensive line proves otherwise, they might as well be a tackling sled because they don't have the gumph. Yes, that's a word that I just made up probably. They don't have the gumph to get any type of push. Said is going to be battling offensive linemen at the second level all night, making it difficult for him to scrape. It'll be difficult for him to go sideline to sideline. We'll watch the Clemson Tigers run the ball down our throat. Moffitt and Shipley are going to be problems, and Klubnik is going to rack up some stats because he's going to be throwing the ball out wide over to the wide receivers. It's exactly what they did at Georgia Tech. They pounded him up the middle with Maffa. Shipley got some tackles or some carries inside the tackles, and then they would just hit him right out there with the wide receiver screens. Almost what Georgia Tech did to us and just killed us outside. That's what I foresee transpiring. It's exactly what they did at Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech couldn't do anything about it. They literally could not do anything about it. So they're going to get their wide receivers out there in space. They're going to make the Heels tackle in space, which they've obviously seen enough tape to realize that that's not necessarily their strong point at certain positions. They haven't done it well. It is a nightmare matchup defensively. Now, I sure hope that I'm wrong, but I'm sticking with my preseason prediction. First one of the year, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sticking with my preseason prediction, and I got the Hills dropping this one 35-31 in Death Valley. That once again exacerbates the inexcusable losses to UVA and Georgia Tech. It just magnifies them. And this game will show all the more reason that Batman and Robin, or Drake and Omarion, they can only take you so far, dude, when your defense has no balls. And I'm talking about the defense as a whole. Prove me wrong. Please, I'm begging you. Please, show me. I don't say this because I want to. It's hard because I love this team and I love these kids. But I'm also going to be real. And they just haven't shown me, especially the past month, that they have the want. And I just don't know how they're going to react, that defense, in front of 80,000 fans. Prove me wrong, please. Now, obviously, I'm stinking stoked for this game. So make sure that you check out the live stream on Saturday, as we will pull for the Hills, obviously, to go in Death Valley and shock the world and even shock your boy Russ. I'm not going to lie. It would be tremendous for the program if they could go in there and get that W. Make sure, obviously, that you stay tuned for Russ's rant and the Tar Heel Mobile on Wednesday, where you guys get to hear me rant. Hey, man, just because I picked Clemson to win doesn't mean I want Clemson to win. You daggone best believe I'm pulling for the boys, okay? And we will be going hard Saturday, 3:15 live stream together. So make sure that you tune in and represent Tar Heel Nation, because I'm sure that there are going to be some Clemson fans try to jump in there when they find out that we're live, man. And you know what? We're going to give them all that they can handle. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Lots going on this week for Tar Heel Nation. I love you guys. I appreciate all the support. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Comment down in the comment section what you're expecting from this football game, what you want to see, and then go ahead and drop in there your score prediction as well. So looking forward to hanging out with you guys this weekend. Make sure you stay tuned to all those shows that are coming up, baby. And I love you, Tar Heel Nation. We'll catch you on the next one.